Hello there. Welcome back to Tales from Tosche Station. How's everybody been? Everybody doing good? I hope so. All right. Well, it's time. Andor is back. And yes, I realize I am a little late on my breakdowns. I'm sorry for the delay. This is going to be for episodes 1 through 3. The breakdown for episodes 4 through 6 should be coming out right after this. And then I'll be putting out my Tales of the Underworld breakdown on Wednesday, so keep an eye out on that. But yeah, we've got Andor, and well, I'm gonna try to keep this as concise as possible. So before we start up this thing, allow me. Hey Chewie, do me a favor. Punch this thing. Let's get into it. Alrighty. So before we actually get into this thing, I'm going to really just kind of not glaze over, but just kind of highlight all 3 episodes instead of trying to piece it through every major plot point in all 3 episodes. Otherwise, we'll be here for like 2 hours. So I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible, and hopefully it makes sense. So, well, let's get into it. And yes, I will be reading from my phone because, well, it's a lot. So if you guys see me look that direction, I'm looking at my phone. So let's get into this thing. We open with a title card. It says 1 year later, and we hear the sound of the Ferrex Anvil gong, which will accompany every arc that we see in episodes. In episodes 4, we're gonna hear it there. In episode 7, we're gonna hear it there as well. So every arc, I'm assuming it's probably gonna start with that gong, and 1 year later, because every arc is a year passes. So I did like that to denote the time jump. So we hear the sound of the anvil, and then we cut to an Imperial test facility as Cassian is getting ready to steal a TIE Avenger. And why is that important, ladies and gentlemen? Well, that was first featured in the TIE Fighter game in the 90s. And it's a fairly advanced ship. Unlike the standard TIE fighters, this one doesn't need to stay localized to a Imperial Star Destroyer or a Star Destroyer or a base or anything like that. It's fairly advanced. It's got its own deflector shields and it's equipped with hyperdrive. That's really the 2 biggest things of the TIE Advance. So Cassian gets into it, and he kind of panics. Like I said, it's not a normal TIE fighter, so it's not set up like a normal TIE fighter. And we get the scene that we get is just him trying to figure out how to really pilot this thing as the Empire is breathing down his neck. He ends up taking out a bunch of troopers as he escapes the base, and he escapes through essentially a ice canyon, and he takes out a couple of I think they're TIE Advance fighters, but I'm not entirely sure. I think it's the same fighter that the Grand Inquisitor uses in Rebel Season 1. But don't quote me on that. And then we cut to a new planet specifically made for this show Mina Mina Rao, where we see a POV tracking shot of the doctor from last season that tortured Bix. And we come to find out that this is just a nightmare that she's having. And because of the torture that she had in the last season, she's now got really severe PTSD. And we see more of that in episode 3. You guys know what I'm talking about, and I will kind of talk about that scene when we get to it. So there's that. Then we cut to Cinderella or or Cinderella. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. As Mon Mothma is preparing for her daughter's arranged marriage, and she looks a little panicked because we don't see him yet, but she sees Luthen land, and she starts to panic, and we get this amazing one shot where she's greeting guests, and as anytime that she's alone, we see the panic return to her face. Anytime we see her interact with anybody, she's back to being Mon Mothma, and it's just the cinematography in this show is just, I love it. And then we cut back to the new planet. We see Bix and Grasso as we essentially figure out that they're hiding out from the Empire, trying to avoid the Imperials as the might be getting ahead of myself, but we essentially find out that the Imperials are about to start doing an audit of where they're living to essentially figure out who's supposed to be there and who's not supposed to be there. And we cut back to Cassian, who lands on a forest planet. I'm not going to say what planet that is until the end of the episode because big reveal. So he's looking for someone named Porco, his contact, who we find out was killed by another rebel cell that Cassian is then taken hostage by. As Cassian's, being held hostage, he pieces it together that this rebel cell is the Maya Pei Brigade, which we hear about in season 1 from Saul Guerrero when him and Luthen meet up. And Cassian pieces it together, and he's saying we're on the same side. The guys I'm working with has been helping fund you guys this whole time. And then we cut to the Matron Divide. Again, I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. As we see everyone's favorite Death Star Director Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn. The boy is back. So he tells the other officers in the room that officially they are not there. And not even Tarkin and Yularen know about this project. And then we cut to Miro and Arquez. Again, if I'm pronouncing these names incorrectly, I apologize. We find out that they're both there as we see a promo of Gorman and the importance of the spiders and the weaves that the spiders create. They essentially create them for like fabrics, and like the Gorman weave is essentially like silk, in a matter of speaking. Krennic then goes on about the mineral of calcite that he goes on about it's something that would help the Empire be energy independent and just a whole bunch of other crap. And he goes on to say that he needs that mineral to coat the reactor lenses reactor lenses for his giant space laser pointer project that he's got going on. And then he essentially tells the council that you guys are here to quell any large scale rebellion that would happen once we start this. And if you've watched Rebels, you know what he's referring to. The Gorman Rebellion that Mon Mothma talks about in Rebels Season 3. And we then cut back to Chandrila, as Mon Mothma is trying to play the game of high society, as she quickly finds out she's behind on a lot of gossip, and as she tends to her daughter after her daughter and her soon-to-be husband had their first fight, because these Chandrila weddings are all arranged, and they're not really the best weddings and things for marriage from what we've seen in Mon Mothma's marriage and relationship with her husband. So there's that. As we then cut back to the rebel cell as they begin to infight. A few of them get killed, and essentially a turf war begins as episode 1 comes to an end. On to episode 2. Like I said, we open up on a turf war as 2 of the members find a hand and a foot of the 2 people that went missing. More on that later. Deidre and Partagaz are back at the ISB on Coruscant. Deidre says she doesn't want the Gorman job, and Partagaz basically tells her to just suck it up because you're not going to find access, and you should have caught him before you made him famous. As we then go back to Mon Mothma. She finds out that Tay drank a little bit too much of the wedding punch the first night of the wedding, and he had to be taken home, as Luthen brings in something for later. And yeah, I did get ahead of myself, because Bigthan Barassos actually found out in this episode that the last visa audit was about 10 years ago, and essentially the Imperials are starting to slowly close in. And then we catch up to Cyril, who was in the Imperial Bureau of Standards, and he's been uncovering a few different theft cells and then we cut back to Barasso and Bix, as Bix is starting to be interrogated by an Imperial officer who's not to get into a lot of details, but is being a little creepy, just a smidge, as Barasso shows up at the end and cut that interaction short. We then see Cyril and Deidre have moved in together. It's a weird coupling. It's a very weird dynamic between those two. But hey, it's just, yeah, those 2 characters together, just something. I don't know. We cut back to Chandrila, and Tay basically tells Mon that he knows what she's doing with her money, and threatens to tell everyone what's going on with her and the rebels, as Mon Mothma's husband makes a speech about how pain will eventually find you, and that joy in life and in these marriages have to be actively pursued. As we then cut back to the rebels on the 4th planet, they go to square off, and they oddly enough start to play rock, paper, scissors. Don't know. That was a little goofy, but is what it is. Cassian uses this to escape, gets his blaster as the rebels are taken out by a giant reptilian creature that, again, I'm probably gonna butcher this name, so don't blast me, people. I'm sorry. A Dodra, if what I saw in the closed captioning is correct, as Cassian escapes, and it's revealed that the planet that they're on is none other than Yavin 4. He escapes. Episode cuts as we move on to episode 3. Cassian's stuck in space. We open on Cassian being stuck in space. He tries to hotwire the Avenger to get moving again, and it's just he doesn't know what he's doing in this thing, and it's becoming pretty apparent. As we then cut to Brasso and Bix as they're having a giant like communal dinner. As Kellen tells Brasso that they're next to be inspected, and gives him some transfer paperwork so they can try to get out of there before the Imperials show up. As we then cut back to Mon Mothma as she's getting Lita ready for the wedding. She tries to have a heart-to-heart with Lita, and it just doesn't land at all. Basically, Lita tells her that I would rather you be drunk than do what you're trying to do now. And, well, we're going to get that. So then we cut to Deidre and Cyril as they're having dinner with Edie. And the long and short of this scene, I'm just going to go ahead and cover it. Basically, Deidre tells Edie that if you're going to be in Cyril's life, you need to treat him with some respect, and that she's not going to let this stuff fly anymore. So there's that. And before that happens, we see Cassian calls I'm gonna mispronounce her name. Sheila, I think that's how you pronounce it. And he's panicking, basically saying that he's been upside down for 2 days, probably quite literally at this point. And she calms him down, tells him what's going on Mineral, and he locks in, becomes an ace pilot real quick, and just takes off to Bix and Brasso as Luthen reveals his gift, that gift that we see him bringing in. And the next thing we see is a very drunk Tay telling Mon Mothma that he's going to start taking up for himself as he walks away. We cut back to Brasso and Bix. They're getting ready to leave as Will is telling his crush goodbye. And this is where all hell breaks loose, ladies and gentlemen. We cut back to Mon Mothma. And we get probably the best part of this episode. She has an exchange with Luthen, and Luthen pretty much tells her that he's gonna have Tay killed, since he's getting inching closer and closer to revealing them. And that happens, and she kind of just goes drunk mom in a wedding. Just starts taking shots and she dances her heart out. So that's what Mon Mothma's doing for the rest of the episode. And now let's get to what happens to Brasso and, unfortunately, what happens to Bix. So Will, after all this happens, he's trying to sprint back to Brasso and Bix, and Brasso gets arrested and gets basically has the cover for he has the cover for Kellen. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. The lieutenant from earlier that was making unwanted advances on Bix, he comes back and he corners her. And I'm not gonna get into the scene, but needless to say, Bix fights him off, kills him, and she escapes. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And then we see Brasso getting arrested as he rages at Kellen. It's kind of all for show and just clears Kellen of any wrongdoing. We cut back to Sandrella, and Senta is the driver for Tay. She's been acting essentially as an assassin for Luthen, and she is going to probably end up killing Tay. So yeah. And then we end on, and I think the first time ever, we see an accurate stormtrooper as Brasso gets shot. Cassian takes out the troopers, gets Bix and Will, and they escape to a safe house that Luthen has set up for them. And yeah, that's the first three. That's the first 3 episodes. I really liked the first 3 episodes. I'm liking what Tony Gilroy is doing with this season so far. Episodes 4 through 6 should be out here soon. Maybe just a little bit after this one. So if you're finishing this one, just go ahead and go watch that next one. So yeah, that's all I've got. So, well, I would say until next time, but I mean, you guys are literally about to see me again in the same outfit. So I'll see y'all in a bit. May the force be with you.